Hey guys, Disorder Magic here, and it's time for another overlooked but awesome card, and this one is pretty great. I think a lot of people are going to see this and say, oh yes, I have a deck to put this in and I am going to use it. It's one of those 4-cost spells that you wonder, boy, this really could have been 6, and I'd still say, yeah, if I could get to 6, I'll play it. Like, it's that powerful. And as far as overlooked, okay, get this, cross-reference this in your mind. Its current eBay price is about $2, and it's a mythic rare from Zendikar. It's also hyper powerful and can single-handedly win the game. Also, whatever it does when it's out, even if it leaves the battlefield, the effect keeps going on. It is that game-endingly powerful. Also, it's one of those rare off-color cards where if I were to just erase all the color, erase the artwork, and erase the cost, and just say, this is what it does, what color do you think this is? You would say, oh, obviously, that's classic. And then you fill in the color, and then it turns out, no, actually, it's this color. And I think, while Magic does have, themes like red is high attack power, blue is low attack power, that's their thing. Red has almost no control, more like green, and blue is all about control. I get it, you gotta have themes, you can't cross over, and you can't just have every color be able to do everything. There has to be pros and cons to every color. That's kind of how Magic works. But once in a while, when they sneak in like some either terribly high cost card, like unimaginably high cost, or, make it a mythic, make it a legendary, make it both, something like that. And then you think, okay, I'm kind of breaking the rules. This is a little bit more of a, like a blue thing, we'll say. Like if it's a card that says, oh, tap, like whenever this happens is really obvious recurring trigger, tap target creature. That's clearly a blue ability. So when you see it on a green card, you're like, oh, this is not something I should be doing. I play green, I shouldn't be able to do that. And this card is that personified because it is such a black card, but it's not. So overlooked but awesome. Oh yes, by definition. I mean, just the cost of it implies that nobody's running it pretty much. It's like the bare minimum for an old popular set mythic. And I mean the eBay cost, like as in what it costs to buy it. I mean, if it was very popular, it'd be $20. So how was this overlooked? What the heck? How could there be a mythic rare from Zendikar, one of the most popular sets of all time, as far as like, I don't know, cards from it, honestly, it's just the fetch lands pretty much. But still, powerful and popular set in Modern, Commander, and other formats. How did you miss this card? Well, let me explain. It's red. That is all you need to know, because remember the long history of garbage red mythics. I can't name one red mythic that's actually good that was printed in the last 3 years. I'm sure there are some, but I can't name them. That's how few there are. I mean, even look at like the master sets. Ooh, Comet Storm. Oh, there's $1. I pulled a foil of it, and I've got a long history pulling foil garbage red mythics from every set. I mean, Star of Extinction. Oh, what a wonderful giant waste of mana that also just does exactly the same to me as it does to the opponents. Wow, that's great. Fantastic. I mean, just look at Standard right now. You got such gems as Glorious End. End the turn at the beginning of your next step, you lose the game. Wow, what a wonderful card. That's great. Indomitable Creativity, garbage. Lightning Runner, garbage. Neheb the Eternal, garbage. Rowdy Crew, it's alright, but nobody plays it. Star of Extinction and Combustible Gear Hulk, not really good. Guess what I just did? I named every single red mythic that's in Standard right now, not counting Planeswalkers and mixed colors. So to say that red mythics have a history of being terrible and overlooked and not played and just, yeah, you get where I'm coming from. So I guess people just overlook this card. I don't know if it was just because it's a red mythic or because it didn't fit into certain decks. I don't know, but I would put this in a commander deck in a second. So, okay, seriously, people, it's been 4 minutes. Have you guessed the damn card yet? You've probably looked it up at this point. I'm, of course, talking about Obsidian Fireheart. Now, that triple devotion to red is pretty cool, but I think that cost kept it out of most decks, because 4 is like, okay, you're going to get it out on a reasonable amount of time, usually turn 4 through 7 on average. And the earlier you get it out, the better, because all you have to do, well, first of all, it's a 4/4 for 4s, it's not bad, but also you pay 3, 2 of which have to be red, and you put a blaze counter on target land without a blaze counter on it. As long as that land has a blaze counter on it, so in other words, even if this leaves the field, it still gets this triggered ability. It has, at the beginning of your upkeep, this land deals 1 damage to you. So the land itself is dealing the damage, not Obsidian Fireheart. So if you get this out and they don't immediately destroy it, and then turn cycle, cool, you pay 3 on your very next turn, they are going to take 1 damage for the rest of the game unless they can destroy their own land or flicker it or something really exotic like that. If you activate it 2 or 3 times, the countdown is on. That is the number 1 threat, and how do you stop it? Oh, remove Obsidian Fireheart? Too bad, your lands are going to keep scorching you. You could reduce it by 1, you could gain life. I mean, it's really narrow what you could do. You could maybe try to remove the blaze counter or destroy your own lands. Other than that, it's just so narrow. Just your opponent is going to lose. You bring this out and leave it out for a couple turns and you just won the game. Simple as that. This is basically a planeswalker. Now keep in mind, the funny thing is the whole time you can be swinging with it. So I would suggest putting this into any kind of red deck where you are pretty control heavy, where it's a lot of like, I'm going to deal, X damage to you, Heat Ray, or Rolling Thunder. It doesn't even have to be X. It could just be like, 5 damage to any non-flying creature. I love that spell. Forgot what it is, but I love it. So, Ball Lightning, Lightning Helix, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Strike. You run stuff like that to just keep yourself from getting damaged by their creatures by removing and destroying their creatures with damage, because that's what red does. And this is just a countdown timer where they're just losing life every single turn and you're going to win eventually. In other words, the more turns you can stall for, the more likely you are to win with this card. That's why it's just so amazing. And just to reiterate, the number 1 trait about this is even if they destroy it, the effect doesn't stop. That is so crazy. Very, very, very much makes it merit being a mythic. Now, if you put this in a mixed color deck, you're going to have trouble paying the 3, and then you're going to have trouble paying the 2, potentially, unless you've got nearly perfect mixing. But if you're running a mono red commander deck of any type, put this in, because the second it comes out, they're going to have to not just focus their removal on it, not just make it a high priority to remove it, but do it within a turn or 2 or they are dead. Now, ticking people for 1 or 2 or 3 per turn when they start with 40, it's not great, but and it's kind of a shame that this isn't legendary, because it would actually be kind of a funny commander, because then, oh wait, no, it wouldn't count as commander damage. But still, bringing it out over and over and over, if you put the blaze counter on 5 different lands by summoning them like 3 times, oh boy, 5 per turn? I mean, how are they going to undo that? How are they going to get around it? They can't. Okay, they could just like double their life total. Commander is weird. I got to 8,000 life in a Commander game, okay? Commander is very interesting. So if you're wondering why it's so cheap and why you've probably never heard of the card, it's because in Modern it's virtually unplayable, because where are you going to get 3 red on turn 4? I mean, in really good tight fixing decks with like 12 dual lands, okay, like if you were to mix this with black or something. But having like 3 white and 1 red, you can't cast this card and it's a bone anchor. And the other thing is, you have to kill them slowly over time. Well, then you're giving them like 5 to 10 more turns while you tick away at their life total, while hopefully hitting them with your own creatures to, kind of pile on. But either way, you're giving them a damn lot of time to get off their stupid little Infinite Kitchen Finks combo or whatever idiocy they're running. Oh, Pyromancer's Ascension, love that one. You don't want to give that deck like 5 more turns. But in a more casual format or a fun format or just like a really tight, good, single like classic red deck, I think it would do great. So if you love this card, definitely pick it up, put it in something. I cannot recommend it more. It's just amazing. Oh, by the way, I got to add in at the end here, there's 2 rulings that I only partially agree with and I don't like. First, if all blaze counters on a land are moved to a different land, the triggering ability doesn't follow them. The first land no longer has the ability because it no longer has a blaze counter on it. That makes sense. But the second land doesn't have the ability because Obsidian Fireheart didn't target it. And I thought, well, that's stupid, but that's like what blaze counters do, except there's no rule in Magic for what blaze counters do. It only does what the card says it does. And the card says as long as that land has a blaze counter on it, not as long as a land has a blaze counter on it. And the reason they didn't write a land is because then this would have to be on the battlefield for that to be true. They would have to actually make it a standalone keyword for it to work the way I want it to. And so similarly, it says if a land ends up with 1 or more than 1 blaze counter on it, thanks to, Doubling Season, Gilder Baron, whatever, the ability still only causes it to deal 1 damage to its controller each turn. I mean, I guess the second blaze counter wasn't placed there by the ability, so it wasn't targeted, but the land itself still was targeted, so shouldn't it be 1 per? That one's a little bit more controversial. I think you should let people get away with it, but I get it. They want to take this out of control powerful card and put some limits on it, so whatever. And that's still, like I said, kind of questionable within the rules. I kind of get where they're coming from there. So if you're a red player and you wanted to definitely play a distinctly black curse ability, damage over time during your upkeep, that is so black curse spell. If that's your thing where you just stall and drain away, but you want to play red, here it is. Have fun, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.